My name is Rob Kaiser. I'm the publisher of the Greater Wilmington Business Journal. Welcome to the very long-delayed 2021 Healthcare Hero Awards. We're glad to have everybody back for a large in-person event. The last time we were able to do this was in November of 2019. We have a fun and inspiring night planned for you. We will first recognize all the Healthcare Heroes finalists and announce the winners, as well as the scholarship recipients. We will then have dinner, and hopefully you'll join us right here on the dance floor when the band Jack Jack 180 gets going. Since it's been a while since we've had an event like this, I'd like to review a few rules and changes since our last event. First, please make sure you get this rule. It's probably the most important one. Regardless of how inappropriate or unfunny any jokes are tonight, please resist coming to the stage and slapping the presenter. Second, we've had some naming changes since our last Healthcare Heroes event. If you need to find a restroom, please ask one of us to direct you to the Novant men's room or the Novant women's room. If you're having trouble finding your car after the event, please follow the signs to the Novant New Hanover parking lot. Finally, while COVID-19 has been incredibly challenging for all of us, particularly those of you in the healthcare community, we did at least gain some new local celebrities. Our biggest new local celebrity is here with us tonight. Dr. Kamitska, could you please stand to be recognized? It seems like for the past 2 years, I couldn't look at any screen without having Dr. Kamitska teach me how to wash my hands or give other practical advice. I was particularly struck by one interview with Dr. Kamitska about how he was looking forward to normal things like returning to his neighborhood bar. So since this is probably his first big outing in a while, we encourage everyone, please give him a night off from COVID questions, but instead, get a special booster shot with Dr. Kamitska. I would also like to thank the sponsors that make our Healthcare Heroes program possible. Our founding sponsor is WellCare Health. Our presenting sponsors are Wilmington Health and PNC Bank. Our scholarship sponsor is Delta Dental. Corporate sponsors are Adromitis, Liberty Senior Living, Lower Cape Fear Life Care, Novant Health, and UNCW's College of Health and Human Services. And our supporter sponsors are Cape Fear Community College, Emerge Ortho, Intercoastal Advisors, Matthews Motors, Nothing Bundt Cakes, and the New Hanover Pender County Medical Society. Let's please have a round of applause for all of our sponsors. We'll now hear from our top sponsors, starting with Daniel Thompson with WellCare. He'll be followed by Jeff James with Wilmington Health and Rebecca Quinn Wolf with PNC. They will be followed by Business Journal editor Vicki Janowski, who will begin the awards presentations. Daniel?
Thank you, everyone, and welcome tonight to the Greater Wilmington Business Journal Healthcare Hero Awards. I want to start by saying thank you to the Greater Wilmington Business Journal. Without you guys and your sacrifices and hard work, tonight would not be possible. Thank you to all the sponsors. Without everything that you guys are doing to bring us together tonight, we wouldn't have a night like tonight. And finally, thank you to the nominees. You guys are the best of the best in the community, and we appreciate everything you do for our patients and everything you do for our community. This is an important event for WellCare. I remember when I attended my first Healthcare Heroes Awards 7 or 8 years ago, and our founder and CEO, Wayne Long, gave a speech, and he pulled me aside and said, no matter how far you go in this organization, remember, we will never go anywhere without our caretakers, without our healthcare providers, without the people at the bedside who are making an impact. This night has a special personal importance for me as well. I grew up with 2 healthcare heroes in my family. My mom was a nurse for 30 years, taking care of the tiniest babies in Charlotte. My dad was a nurse as well, working in the emergency room, on the flight team, and finally in home health, and not letting me avoid that mistake as well. Anyone who has had healthcare heroes in their family or healthcare workers in their family knows that when you gather more than one healthcare worker around the table, the dinner conversations will be interesting. They are not for the faint of heart. I've sat through hundreds of them. I've sat through thousands of them. My dad tells the best stories of the emergency room in the 80s. I know that two good things came from those conversations that I listened to growing up. The first is that it prevented my sister from going into the healthcare field. She's an accountant. And we're all better off for that. The second is that I got to see firsthand the sacrifices that healthcare workers make, putting the needs, the wants of their patients ahead of their own. I appreciate the efforts of this community and of everyone involved tonight in making sure that we recognize the impact that our healthcare workers have. As we sit, hopefully, at the dawn of a new stage in this pandemic, looking back on what for many of us has been the most difficult stretch in our careers, I want to say thank you to everyone here tonight, all the healthcare workers who are here, the healthcare workers who can't be here. And I want you all to know that I'm proud to call you my colleagues. And to me, you're all heroes. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeff James with Wilmington Health. I really appreciate Rob giving me the advice to not come up and smack him for all of the bad jokes he's told over the years. It's great to be here in person again. This is the first time that we've been back together for a few years, and honestly, this is one of my favorite events that I attend each year. I like this event for a number of reasons, but one of the main reasons that I like this is because we get to recognize tonight those healthcare heroes that are at the forefront of what they do. And the thing I like about that is that they are nominated by their peers. It's the people that they work shoulder to shoulder with every day that nominate them for these awards. As with most communities, the last couple of years have been extremely challenging. Many of these heroes have been at the tip of the spear in the fight against this pandemic for this entire time. However, at the same time, for each of these well-deserving finalists and recipients that we recognize here tonight, let's remember there are probably 500 more that stand shoulder to shoulder with them on the front lines every day. Many in the audience are also healthcare workers. I want to take a second and recognize you and thank you so much. Again, I want to thank you all for everything that you've done. And Rob, Vicki, thank you so much for this event. It is truly one of my favorites.
Good evening. I'm Rebecca Quinn Wolf, and I'm with PNC Bank, and I direct our community relations for the eastern half of North and South Carolina. And I'm delighted to be here along with my colleague Karen Weaver and Jim Kowalski, also with PNC, as we recognize this year, or last year's, Healthcare Heroes, and a super proud partner and sponsor of the Wilmington Business Journal, and working with Rob, Craig, and Maggie. It's a lot of great fun. I'm really excited that the rescheduled date is tonight and not tomorrow night, because I hear there's some basketball on tomorrow. So that's huge. So great planning by the team at the Wilmington Business Journal. That's awesome. So at PNC, we talk a lot about health, and mostly in the context of financial wellness, but we also know that a strong local healthcare sector is foundational to a dynamic local business landscape. And that's why PNC helped the Business Journal establish Healthcare Heroes in 2013, an opportunity for the business community to express appreciation for Wilmington's healthcare professionals. We are amazed and in awe and inspired by the heroism, skill, and compassion these remarkable individuals demonstrate every single day in their profession. In many ways, hero can't adequately express the impact and contributions of our region's healthcare professionals. especially navigating a more than 2-year pandemic, working on the front lines again every single day. And a personal note, despite everything that transpired during the pandemic, my 18-year-old daughter is in nursing school, which we're super proud of. Again, thank you to everyone. Cannot fully convey the extent of our gratitude. The honorees we're celebrating this evening have not only made a difference in the lives of their patients, they are integral to the quality and sustainability of our community and to a future of resilience and recovery. To the 2021 Healthcare Heroes, thank you from all of us at PNC Bank.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Vicki Janowski. I am the editor of the Greater Wilmington Business Journal and Wilma Magazine. So I want to welcome you to our little soiree here. As Rebecca mentioned, this is actually the 2021 Healthcare Heroes event. But as we all know, time has now been suspended for the past 2 years, so we can make up whatever rules we want. But we actually normally do have this event in November, ever since we launched it and worked with WellCare to have a night, which in the spirit of Wayne is to really the focus is to celebrate those at every level of the healthcare community. And because you guys all work so hard, let you really just have a night out to hang out, party, play, and relax, because goodness knows, and especially in the past 2 years, you have earned it a night to let your hair down. But so normally this is in November, and obviously we pushed that back for reasons that you guys all know, and we worked hard to wait until it got warm enough, and thankfully those frost weekends we've had recently didn't happen this weekend. So I do want to take a second to honor our events department, Jamie Kleiman and Elizabeth Stelzenmuller, who put this together to have a night out where you felt was comfortable, where we're, outside and could still have that spirit that we've always had with Healthcare Heroes. So it may be hard to hear in the back. It might get windy. Who knows what else is going to happen on April Fool's Day. But as I told our kids the past 2 years, this is called rolling with it. So this is what we're going to do. And I'm happy to see all of your faces here tonight. And thank you for coming. So just a little bit before we start into the categories and we recognize all the finalists and the award winners. In case this is your first Healthcare Heroes event, let me fill you in a little bit about how we got here to this point. So every year we put a call out for nominations and applications for several categories: healthcare executive, nurse, PA, volunteer, just a wide variety of those who work in the healthcare space and help patients and help this community. People nominate or people apply, so it could be from their colleagues, their bosses, their patients, their families, their spouses. It comes from every corner. And then our panel of judges, who are leaders among the healthcare communities and sponsors, meet to go through those applications and nominations to pick the finalists and then the judges, which brings us here to tonight. And it's very much a way to shine a light on the work that's done every day in our region that is seen and maybe even unseen, but the very important work. I know we've said this over and over again the past 2 years, but it's just been under a microscope just how much work and effort and blood, sweat, and tears and just time has been put in to help keep the community safe and help the community recover from what has been a terrible situation. So we are lucky to have these people who are here that are being honored tonight. All of the finalists deserve the utmost accolades, and I hope that you reach out to them too tonight when we celebrate all their work afterwards. So Rob made an Oscars reference. I'm not going to make another Oscar reference. But unlike the Oscars, one thing that is different is actually different from how we normally do Healthcare Heroes. This year, we're taking a cue from how we do our Wilma Magazine Awards, and we actually invited people who are connected to the winners to come and present the award. So we are going to hear from them about why this particular person deserved winning their category. What might be a little bit jarring is that we are not doing acceptance speeches from that winner. And the reason behind this is because we want to hear the accolades from the people that are closest to them, and we also want to get straight to what the point in Wayne's spirit of the evening is, and that is a celebration. So we're not going to have a 2-hour program. We are going to have a lot of just celebration, and you're going to learn a lot about the people who were the winners this evening. So that being said, I'm going to launch into the first category and introduce you to the finalists. You may or may not be able to see the screen. This is going to be one of those things where I said rolling with it, but I will read the finalists for our very first category, which is innovation in healthcare. So this year's, but last year's finalists for innovation in healthcare are Dr. Jonathan Hines, who's Chief Medical Officer with Wilmington Health. And it's okay, this is one of those events you can cheer. You can, this is not proper. Melissa Odom, Chief Operating Officer with Wilmington Health's Physician Healthcare Collaborative. And Mina Rayo with Cape Fear Heart Associates and also Novant Health. And to present the award for innovation in healthcare, I'm going to bring up to the stage Dr. Bill Smith.
Thank you very much, Vicki. It's my pleasure to announce this year's winner of the Innovation in Healthcare category. Last year's winner, actually, has been both a leader and innovator in the cardiology community since her arrival in Wilmington. She is a skilled, invasive electrophysiologist who performs ablations to treat cardiac arrhythmias. In the Novant Health New Hanover Electrophysiology Lab, she has pioneered new techniques to address complex arrhythmias and to perform ablation procedures with zero radiation to her patients and staff. She was the first physician in Wilmington to implant the Watchman left atrial appendage occlusion device, which is a device to reduce the risk of stroke in patients with atrial fibrillation who cannot take blood thinners. In addition to her procedural skills, she has served as the director of the Novant Health Heart and Vascular Institute Atrial Fibrillation Clinic since its inception. In this role, she directs a multidisciplinary team which innovates the care delivery for patients with our community's most common cardiac arrhythmia. Under her direction, the clinic has accomplished its goals to improve the overall quality of care of patients with atrial fibrillation, to promote community awareness of the disease and opportunities for education around the disease state, and to create protocols to provide more prompt care for new atrial fibrillation patients, as well as guideline-based follow-up for those for stable ones. With these incredible examples of innovation, I'm delighted to announce this year's winner of the Innovation in Healthcare Award, my colleague, Dr. Mina Rao.
Congratulations, Dr. Rao. Thank you. Our next category is nurse category. And the finalists are, and I'm going to do a disclaimer that holds for the rest of the night with the last name of Janowski. If I butcher anyone's name, I feel your pain and I apologize in advance. So that being said, our first finalist is Joanne Behonik. Good, yeah? Joanne is a surgical services and emergency services nurse with Novant Health. Erin Davis, who's a staff nurse in the COVID intensive care unit with Novant Health. And Owen Howell, who is a school nurse at Coddington Elementary and Lake Forest Elementary. To present the winner in the nurse category, I'm going to invite up to the stage Chris Davis.
I am not short, so I'm going to go a little higher. Forgive me. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm extremely humbled and excited to present this award for obvious reasons. I'm sure you figured out by my last name. The last 2 years have been extremely challenging for the healthcare community. I will never fully appreciate what you all have endured in this pandemic, but I am very grateful for all of you. The only thing I can equate this to is my time deployed in the Middle East. This pandemic, just like war, created things, good, bad, and sometimes tragic. It pushed people to do things they never thought possible. It brought out a fighting spirit that some didn't realize they even had. It helped teams forge bonds that will never be broken. It caused scars, some of which are impossible to heal. It took a toll that may never be adequately measured. Most of all, though, this pandemic created the need for a select few to rise up and to do that which not everyone is prepared to. Those few are here with us tonight, nominated for these tokens of appreciation that we have in front of us, and they are all certainly heroes to me. The winner of the Nurse Award is someone very special to me. Her strength, passion, grit, resilience, dedication, and selfless service are just a few reasons why she's won this award tonight. Throughout this process, she keeps telling me how she doesn't deserve this, but her team does. And while that is very true, I can't think of a better person to represent that team on this stage and accept the award. The COVID ICU is where she spent most of her days in 2021. First as a staff nurse trying to save the most acute patients in a time of crisis, and then later as the charge nurse, desperately trying to fill the needs of the unit. She helped families cope when they couldn't physically see their loved ones. She performed the duties reserved for more seasoned nurses without skipping a beat. She dealt with being criticized for not doing enough to save people, and that is very much a burden she still carries today. She has lost too many while saving everyone she could, sacrificing much of her emotional well-being along the way. It is true that her accomplishments are indicators of having a strong team and direct first-line managers. But what her humility doesn't allow her to see is the impact that she has had on the world and our community. That's a common characteristic of true heroes, though, always wishing they had given more to the fight. Erin, you've given everything to this fight, and I'm proud to announce you as the 2021 Nurse Category Healthcare Hero. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Erin. You guys, if you ever want to know how to write a nomination for your partner in life, I will send you Chris's nomination for his wife. I've sent it to my husband. It's amazing. The next category is nurse practitioner and physician assistant. And the finalists for this round were Mackenzie Klein, physician assistant for Wilmington Health, Jen Perot with Eastern Carolina Emergency Physicians, and Carrie Thomas, physician assistant with Coastal Carolina Care. And presenting the award in this year's category is Alexis Hunter.
Thanks, Vicki and Rob and Maggie. How exciting it is to be here, to be here this evening, surrounded by so many healthcare workers and heroes, all in their own right. And I'm ecstatic to present the award for PA, NP, physician assistant, nurse practitioner, as many refer to as ACPs. And I think we all can agree that healthcare cannot survive without these professionals, how important they are. They work in doctors' offices, they work in hospitals, they work in big box pharmacies. But this year's winner doesn't work in one of those traditional places. This year's winner works in a bank. And that is not very common for a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant. But this bank decided a few years ago that although they were already giving their employees amazing healthcare coverage, that they wanted to give their employees amazing health care right at their site where they work. And so, although I'm a little biased, they reached out to a really awesome company and asked for us to help them out with placing a provider right there for their employees. And it worked tremendously. Those employees at that bank love her. They nominated her 51 times. 51 bankers nominated a healthcare provider for an award. And so while all of the nominations were beautiful, I have the privilege of sitting on the panel of judges. I did want to read you one that really stood out to me. She is a one-woman army. She does just about everything and deals with just about anything. It's incredible. She has gone above and beyond to take care of our entire work family. We are so lucky to have her caring for us, period. However, it's especially true during these last COVID years that have been such a challenging time for everyone. She can put on a hazmat suit and still have the feel and love and affection of a caring human being, even in a tent, in a parking deck, in the cold. We all love her so much. We really do. She's an amazing human, and we are so grateful for her. So it is with great pride and honor that I present this year's Healthcare Hero Award for a nurse practitioner or physician assistant to Wilmington Health's own, who serves the employees of Live Oak Bank, Mackenzie Klein.
Congratulations, Mackenzie. Our next category is the first responder category. And the finalists this round were the Mobile Integrated Health Team from Novant Health, Tommy Batson, who is the Emergency Director for Pender County, and Andrea Blevins, who is an EMT paramedic for Novant Health. And to announce this year's winner, which, by the way, side note, little housekeeping, do not be afraid to talk into the mic so the folks in the back can hear all of the accomplishments and bragging that you're about to say. Tammy Proctor.
I'm not short either. I'm vertically challenged. It's a real privilege and an honor tonight to get to present the 2021 First Responder category. This year's recipient started his public service career more than 25 years ago as a volunteer firefighter. Emergency response has been more than a career. It's his everyday life. More than 18 years ago, the recipient's first employment opportunity in Pender County was a part-time telecommunicator in the Sheriff's 911 Center. During his years of service, our honoree earned numerous certifications and additional responsibilities as he grew. And those are sampled in your beloved Wilmington Business Journal. In his career in emergency services, our recipient received 3 life-saving awards for saving 6 people in 3 different events. He's an experienced leader who has served Pender County throughout natural disasters and often in the region he serves. From search and rescue operations, wildfires, tornadoes, flooding, and of course, hurricanes. During Hurricane Florence, as the Assistant Emergency Director and Fire Marshal, he served in the Emergency Operations Center for 42 straight days. Tonight's honoree loves his wife, he loves his children, he loves his career in public service, and thank the Lord, he loves Pender County. It is my privilege to present the Healthcare Hero First Responder to Tommy Batson, the director.
Congrats, Tommy. Oh, good. The sun has come out now. Our next category is the physician category. And the finalists were Michelle Jones, a family medicine physician with Wilmington Health. Paul Kamitska, infectious disease and internal medicine with Wilmington Health. And Maya Overstreet Galliano, chief medical officer with MedNorth Health Center. To present the award for the physician category is Jonathan Hines.
It's going to be a little bit of a challenge here with the sun here. I'll do my best. Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan Hines. I'm an internal medicine physician at Wilmington Health. And I have been asked to come up and recognize one of our colleagues, Dr. Paul Kamitska. Now, adequately recognizing the work and the contributions of Dr. Paul Kamitska is a challenge. We recognize him tonight. That is better, isn't it? I'm going to try that again. Adequately recognizing the work and the contributions of Dr. Paul Kamitska is a challenge. We recognize him tonight in his role as hospital epidemiologist, his role as infectious disease physician, and his role as an educator. This is not an easy task, but it is a tremendous honor to speak on his behalf. And I think a good starting point would be to try to understand what is epidemiology. What does an epidemiologist do? Well, epidemiologists study disease and disease patterns in a community and then spearhead initiatives to minimize the spread of those diseases and the impact on our community. The first epidemiologist was Hippocrates, who profoundly changed our approach to medicine when he attributed disease to natural causes as opposed to spiritual causes. Likely the second most famous epidemiologist was Semmelweis, who in the 1800s revolutionized medicine when he advocated that physicians should wash their hands before attending to pregnant women in order to reduce post-delivery infections and mortality. The third epidemiologist that I can think of, but the one that has mattered most to me, is Dr. Paul Kamitska. Paul served as hospital epidemiologist at New Hanover Regional Medical Center from 2008 through 2021. He also spent numerous years at Wilmington Health as our infection control consultant from 1994 to 2020. And he has been practicing infectious disease and internal medicine here in Wilmington for over 25 years. Paul is a natural-born thinker and innovator and has been at the core of numerous innovations in infection control at the hospital and within the community. Just a glimpse of this body of work includes protocols for the daily bathing of patients in the ICU with chlorhexidine to prevent internal catheter infections, the introduction of chlorhexidine dressings to reduce internal line infections and catheter-associated urinary tract infections. Paul was integral in convincing the hospital system to use only bleach-containing disinfectants in the battle against a terribly difficult-to-control contagion in the hospital, Clostridium difficile. Paul was involved in introducing patient-specific stethoscopes, where each patient-facing room in the hospital has its own dedicated stethoscope, obviating the need for physicians and nurses to carry their own stethoscopes from patient to patient or room to room, and thereby reducing the likelihood that nurses and physicians themselves become vectors for spreading contagion within the hospital. Paul was integral to bringing ultraviolet light emitting robots as part of the cleaning protocol for patient rooms at the hospital. The ultraviolet light in these robots emit break down DNA of structures of viruses, bacteria, and other microorganisms. In fact, 99% of pathogens are eliminated with a 10-minute treatment. In all fairness, credit needs to go to the hospital as well, because these robots cost in the millions of dollars. And lastly, Paul has been central to ongoing educational efforts for staff regarding hospital-acquired infections and best practices to avoid them. Throughout his tenure as hospital epidemiologist, Paul has been engaged in pandemic preparedness and management. Challenges he and his team have met include stewardship through epidemics such as the H1N1 influenza, the Ebola virus, the Zika virus, and of course our current pandemic with COVID-19. Paul took it upon himself to keep up with the literature and the evolving science of these epidemics and this pandemic. He carries an encyclopedic knowledge of these contagions. He has led our community-wide response from COVID from the very beginning, setting up masking protocols, gown protocols, glove protocols, isolation suit protocols, COVID testing protocols. And much of this work was done at a time period of limited testing availability and limited supplies and rapidly evolving science. Paul has done TV interviews, radio interviews, and print media. He allowed us near 24/7 availability by phone or text to answer questions from worried physicians and patients. He attended all hospital department meetings in 2020 and 2021 as an advisor. He has sat on multiple expert panels. In fact, Paul wrote and designed a protocol to allow for resumption of elective surgeries amid shortages of rapid testing and personal protective equipment. And this protocol was published in the American Journal of Safety in 2022. And I wonder how many patients here in this area were able to proceed with the surgeries they needed due to this important work. He continues to be a strong voice for antibiotic stewardship. The concept that we all must not only consider the potential benefits, but also the potential harm in prescribing antibiotics. He routinely lectures in the Harvard Health System on appropriate antibiotic prescribing, and he gives these lectures and slide presentations here in our community as well. I remember about 12 years ago, Paul was giving one of these slide presentations on antibiotic stewardship at Wilmington Health. And I was in the audience listening to him, and there were probably about 30 physicians listening to him. And Paul decided to call me out in front of all these physicians, and he asked me a trick question. He was pushing antibiotic stewardship, of course, and he described this case, and this man obviously had an infection. He was febrile, and he had respiratory symptoms, and he was sick. And the question that was going to be posed to the audience, and I think the point that Dr. Kamitska was trying to make, or trying to educate us on, was, does this gentleman warrant an antibiotic or not? But that was not the question he asked me. He calls me out by name and says, Dr. Hines, what antibiotic would you use in this patient? I promptly answered him, Dr. Kamitska, I would use imipenem. Now, for all of you that don't know, and back then, imipenem was probably the most powerful antibiotic and the most broad spectrum antibiotic that the hospital had. I knew that this patient did not require imipenem, but I also knew that that answer would be the answer that would most irritate him. And yet he marches on and continues to give lectures. Paul readily and willingly took an enormous burden through this time period. He has been tireless and selfless in the efforts he put forth. I asked him what was his motivation. "It's a privilege," was all he said. And I know that he meant that. So I ask all of you to recognize our colleague and our community treasure, Dr. Paul Kamitska.
Thanks for those words, Dr. Hines. While they are taking their picture, I want to point out, again, the Business Journal, we are not on the panel of judges that decides the awards of the finalists. We're just observers. I will say, however, every step of this pandemic, I know some of you have been on Biz Talk for the Business Journal. All of you have watched it before. I have booked Dr. Kamitska every chapter of this weird and winding path of the past 2 years. And I often have said, if Dr. Kamitska is not ready for a dinner party, then maybe we should rethink where we are. So I have used him in this deluge of information and quickly changing information we've had over the past 2 years as my personal guidepost for how we could navigate it. And I know many in the community have as well. So congratulations, Dr. Kamitska. Also, Rob has been waiting for like a year and a half for the shots with the shots of Dr. Kamitska jokes. So tonight, you are welcome to expound on your vaccine talk anytime you want. For the rest of the evening, you have a full pass. So we're going to take a quick break before we go into the rest of the categories, but it's a very important and purposeful break. And we are going to give out our student scholarships. So one of our traditions with Healthcare Heroes, as well as with our Wilma Women to Watch Awards, is we want to constantly keep an eye on that talent pipeline that's coming down, and we want to make a gesture and invest in the future that hopefully will continue to be part of this community. You guys all know even better than I do up here in terms of what that workforce investment means for the healthcare community. We've all seen the stories and we've all talked about the shortage that is coming or is already here. So for those college students at CFCC and UNCW that are pursuing health-related fields, we want to make sure that they're appreciated, that they're supported, and even more so than the scholarships, I would hope that you reach out to the students that are about to come on stage here and just show them like how cool it is to be at things like this if you go into the healthcare community. And to present those scholarships and tell you about the students that we are awarding this year is our scholarship sponsor from Delta Dental. Elaine Joyak is going to come to the stage and actually introduce you to this year's Healthcare Hero Scholarship recipients.
Thank you, Vicki. All right, can you hear me in the back? Thumbs up? Okay, good. I used to teach outdoor fitness and preschool, so usually I'm okay with my volume. But I am so excited. Third time's a charm, right? I'm so glad that we're here tonight celebrating our 2021 Healthcare Heroes, finally. For the 5th consecutive year, Delta Dental has been the proud sponsor of the Healthcare Heroes Scholarship Awards, as our mission is to improve the oral health and the overall well-being of the communities we serve. So caring for your oral health has a positive impact on your overall health, and that is why we support the Healthcare Heroes Awards. So Vicki just referenced the workforce shortages. So we are especially grateful tonight for our scholarship recipients. From UNC Wilmington, I'm honored to introduce to you Crystal Byers and Amber Taylor, and I'm going to ask these ladies to please come up on stage while I talk about you. Hi. Watch yourself here. And you're Crystal. Elaine Moyat, nice to meet you. So it looks like, is Amanda here tonight?
I'd like to present you a check.
the non-negotiable jumbo check. So anyway, well, I'm going to start. Crystal is originally from Virginia and moved to North Carolina in 2012. Currently, she works in a cardiovascular intensive care unit. Crystal had this to say about her career choice. I always knew I wanted to work in healthcare, and respiratory therapy was that opening. The respiratory therapy program at UNCW provides great hands-on experience with patients of all kinds. I have a passion for working with children or trauma and emergency care. I hope one day to continue my education and go to graduate school. So, Crystal, congratulations. All right, so it seems as though Amber is not here, but I am going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about her. So she was born and raised in Western Pennsylvania. After graduating from high school, joined the Marine Corps, where she was awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal. She met her husband in Japan, and they have 2 children. After her enlistment ended, she attended Cape Fear Community College and graduated in May 2021 with an associate degree in nursing. And while at CFCC, she held the position of vice president of the Students Veterans Association on campus. After graduation, her family moved to Norfolk, Virginia, and she started working at the Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters. She is currently enrolled in UNCW's RN to BSN program and plans to continue her education in the nursing field following graduation. And regarding her choice of what is her second career, Amber said, being a pediatric nurse has been a dream come true. After completing my bachelor's degree, I plan to go back to obtain my master's in nursing education. So, congratulations to both Crystal and Amber. So before I move on to the Cape Fear Community College scholarship recipients, both of whom are pursuing degrees in dental hygiene, I want to say a few words about oral health care needs here and those who are endeavoring to meet those needs. So Delta Dental is a not-for-profit dental insurance carrier, and what this means is that a portion of our residuals at the end of each year go back to work in North Carolina, and this is what funds our corporate philanthropy as well as our foundation work. So we are delighted to have with us tonight 2 of our Smiles for Kids grantees, and that is the Children's Museum of Wilmington and Smart Start of New Hanover County. So both of these amazing organizations offer oral health care education to the children and their families they serve. Now, helping address the oral health needs for adults in New Hanover County, we are honored to have with us Commissioner Rob Zappel. And so Commissioner Zappel, some of you may know, was a driving force behind the county approving close to $880,000 in funding to support oral health services for adults over 55 years of age, of which I'm nearing that, who do not have full Medicaid benefits. So these are New Hanover County residents who have no dental benefits, and they don't earn enough to be able to afford out-of-pocket dental services. So probably preaching to the choir here, but this is what it means to be in the gap. So partnering with the county to provide the dental services is Access Dental Care. And this is a nonprofit mobile dentistry program that was awarded $10,000 from our foundation in 2021. So we are grateful to have the county's support of expanding access to dental services, just as we are grateful for this year's scholarship recipients from Cape Fear Community College. When they launch their dental hygiene careers, Christina Jewell and Brinkley Elliott will be helping meet dental staffing shortage needs. So if you are here, please come forward. Oh, yay. Hey, Brinkley, Illinois. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Congratulations. So I'll tell you a little bit about Brinkley. She's, now Brinkley, I'm sorry, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Are you the 2023 dental hygiene class president or okay. I had to question that because we're not there yet, but you know, time's weird right now. She's a 2023 dental hygiene class president at Cape Fear Community College. Originally from Raleigh, she moved to Southport about 7 years ago. In her free time, she loves going to the beach, trying new restaurants, and playing outside with her 2 dogs. Upon graduation, Brinkley plans to stay in the Wilmington area and live out her dream of providing preventive oral care and patient education to improve oral systemic health. That's music to my ears. I'm going to go back to Christina. A 35-year-old wife and mother, Christina went back to school at Cape Fear Community College after graduating from UNCW in 2009. While returning to school was not an easy decision for her small family and herself, she's very glad she did, and so are we. With the help of scholarships like this one, Christina said her return to school put a little less strain on her family. She will graduate in July 2023 and will work right here in Wilmington and find ways to give back to her community. So thank you to our Healthcare Heroes Scholarship Award recipients and the work that you are doing.
Christina, Brinkley, Crystal, and Amber, the older I get, the more I appreciate your life choices, and I look forward to you taking care of me in the very near future. So we have 5 more categories before we get to our Lifetime Achievement Award, and we have other surprises planned along the way, so just stay tuned. Our next category is our Community Achievement category. The finalists were the Quick Response Team from Coastal Horizons, Alyssa Thompson, who's Director of Health Services for Plantation Village, and Carla Turner, who is the Assistant Public Health Director for New Hanover County. To announce the winner in this category is Donna Faco.
Good evening. This year's honoree has nearly 30 years of experience in nursing, public health, and service to the residents of New Hanover County. She's been an invaluable asset in the county's response to COVID-19 since its arrival here in New Hanover County in March of 2020. COVID-19, as you know, has disrupted lives, livelihoods, in a way that nothing that we have ever seen in this generation. This year's honoree was among the first mobilized in the county's emergency operations team. She played an integral role in developing county strategy, logistics, operations, and outreach for COVID testing sites, for contact tracing, for establishing the county's coronavirus call center, and the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines. In fact, part of her Christmas vacation was spent offering vaccines in our clinics. This honoree eagerly stepped into the role of spokesperson by providing public health guidance in social media videos, in local media interviews, helping to educate and inform the public every step of the way. She did not hesitate to answer calls, which came directly to her personal cell after business hours, to first responders who needed guidance regarding public health and COVID-19 safety measures. She also served as a resource to the New Hanover County school system in ensuring safety precautions in their operations. This honoree's work has contributed to improving social determinants of health and promoting lifelong health and safety of New Hanover County residents by helping to break down barriers brought on by a long history of racial inequities in access to health care, bringing resources directly into communities, and meeting residents where they are to protect them from severe illness associated with COVID-19. As the Public Health Assistant Director for New Hanover County's Health and Human Services, her passion for public health shines through in all that she does. However, it's her commitment as a servant leader that inspires everyone around her. It is my pleasure and honor to award the Healthcare Heroes Community Achievement Award to Carla Turner.
Congratulations, Carla. Fun fact, Carla Turner, again, I have no vote in this process, but Carla was in our inaugural class way back when of Wilma's Women to Watch award winner in the healthcare sector. So it's good to see that she's come far. Our next category is healthcare. Our next category is our volunteer category. And the finalists are Susan Gibble, physician assistant who's retired, Laura Holmes, an occupational therapy assistant for WellCare Health, and the team of Bob Young and Walter Semensky, who are volunteers for Novant Health. And presenting the winner in this category is Sherry Borgson.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight's recipient of the Volunteer Award has been an occupational therapist assistant for the past 5 years with WellCare Home Health. Her background includes work in hand therapy, rehabilitation and nursing, and home health. When asked why home health, she stated, "One of the most rewarding parts of home health is to help patients succeed in their own home environment." She is kind, considerate, compassionate, and is a perfect example of customer service excellence. She has been volunteering to mentor students from Cape Fear Community College for the past 4 years. In her position, she works with students who are observing and those that are interning for their degree. These students stay with her for the entire day throughout her work. She recently was awarded the Cape Fear Community College Field Work Educator of Excellence Award, and as quoted, "To watch students go from being shy while interacting with patients to really effectively communicating and put themselves forward is amazing." The winner of the Volunteer Award this evening is Laura Holmes.
Congratulations, Daniel, for taking the picture for Laura. But we trust that you're going to deliver that to her. She's going to be extremely excited. The shoulder of giants, exactly. Our next category is healthcare executive. And the 3 very deserving finalists this year were Zane Bennett, Director of Business Development for Life Care Services, John Gizdick, who's now Executive Vice President and Chief Business Development Officer for Novant Health, and Linda Stanley, who is President of Dosher Memorial Hospital. Presenting this year's award and making his return to the stage is Jack Bardo, who has been warned that he has a 2-minute time limit before the hook comes out. Jack, take it away.
John, I'm glad you're here because it gave me at least 3 more minutes, so I appreciate that. Paul Kamitska, I'm going to deviate for a second. Where's Paul? Paul, they talked about your brilliance and everything you've done. On behalf of Mary and I want to thank you for how wonderful care you've taken care of my wife. You diagnosed her with leukemia, and you have provided her with the most unbelievable guidance for the last decade. She is as healthy as can be, and it's because of you. And we owe you, and we love you. Thank you. Thank you. I was really thrilled tonight when I heard that there were no acceptance speeches, because for 13 years I never let John talk. But literally, in 2004, when I came to New Hanover, we were a sleepy little hospital, and one of the first people I asked to come with me and lead us on a journey to help transition and transform what we've done to take us from a community hospital to a regional network was John Gistic. And when I interviewed him, he was young. I think he was in his mid-30s, and he was energetic, he was smart. But the thing that I liked about him most is he really wanted to be in Wilmington. He really wanted to be here, and he really wanted to commit. And so many people look for different reasons and ways to find jobs and to find careers. John found a place that he wanted to be, and he and Kristen and the kids moved here. And for the next 13 years, John was the person that I relied on most heavily as we went through and transitioned to healthcare, working with Jeff, the people at Wilmington Health, building our physician network, expanding with Pender, getting into home care, building women and children's, expanding the surgery pavilion. This was John working with me on a day-to-day basis to change this. And I found him at all times to be one of the most honorable, honest men that I've ever met. And as we went through this process and we started to have our success, and when I decided that it was time for me to step away, the board asked me, do you have somebody on your staff that's going to be ready to take it over, or do we need to go on a national search? Easiest decision I had and comment I had in 13 years. No, John's willing now, he's ready, and he's going to do an amazing job. And he did, and he has. He continued doing what we were doing, and you've seen the growth continue for our hospital. He led New Hanover Regional Medical Center. I have to be real honest with you. John and he would always come to me and said, I want to change my logo. And I said, no, I really don't want to. It's too expensive. Shelbourne, it's a lot of money, isn't it? As you go through that. But I told him one day, if you want to take a look at it, I'm fine, but there's only one thing you can't do. He said, what's that? I said, I don't want to see any purple anywhere in this process. And here we are. Bathrooms named, variety of others. But he literally led New Hanover Regional Medical Center through one of the most comprehensive, difficult transition process for healthcare ownerships that could have ever been done in this country. There's probably one of the largest cash sales of an organization in healthcare in the last decade. And it's not an easy thing to do. You're balancing many things out of the process. But now we've got a different growth opportunity, and he's moved into a role where he's still going to help grow the region, and he's going to work with Shelbourne and everybody else to grow the region, but he's also going to help have a more of a statewide process. He's done so many things in this community. He's been president of the Hospital Association, the Chamber of Commerce. I think he's chaired every healthcare fundraising event in the area. He's been out walking the Heart Walk, the cancer, everything. That's because he's been committed to this community, and he's done an outstanding job. And I couldn't be any prouder to be here tonight and recognize our executive, John Gistic. John, come on up, please.
Our next category is the healthcare professional category. And this serves as a category that really recognizes the different ways that caregivers interact every day with patient care. The finalists this year are Fran Johnson, Director of Nursing of the Surgery Center for Wilmington Health. Michelle Summerall, Manager of Respiratory Services for Novant Health. And Cassandra Taylor, who is a CNA at WellCare Health. who brought her own cheering section. To announce this year's winner is Kathy Millsap.
Thank you, Vicki. So I'm really excited to be here to announce our winner tonight. It's just very near and dear to my heart, so I am excited for this opportunity. The recipient of this award is one of the most accommodating and caring individuals that I've ever had the pleasure to work with. She treats her patients and her fellow clinicians with the utmost kindness and consideration. Her patients rave about her and her caring and empathy that she provides to them on a daily basis. She treats her patients as if they were the only one that she is seeing for that day. She spends the time and the energy to make them feel special and to make them feel like they are the only person in the world to her that day. She is committed to caring for others as evidenced by her over 21 years of service. Her patients brag about her dedication and the understanding that she has for their needs. Her manager shared with me that she knows that she's a gem and that when she's out caring for her patients, that she doesn't have to worry, that undoubtedly they will get the best care possible. I don't believe that this employee knows the word no, because you can call her at any time of the day and say, please, we need you to see this other patient. And without a doubt, she will say, of course, put them on my schedule. Doesn't matter, 10 patients, 11 patients, 12 patients, 14-hour day, 16-hour day. She works from the morning till the night until they're all seen. And again, provides that excellent care, making them feel like they're the only person that she's seen for the day. She's become so talented with her care and over her 21 years that when she sees a patient, she immediately knows if there's something different about their condition and is able to report that back to her colleagues and her teammates, and has prevented many hospitalizations from patients having to go back into the hospital because she's able to initiate that care right away and get them what they need from nurses, physical therapists, occupational therapists, depending upon what their need is. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the 2021 recipient of the Healthcare Professional Award, Ms. Cassandra Taylor.
Congratulations. Thank you for the work that you do with patients every day, Cassandra. Our next category is a little bit different. We did this a little bit differently last year than we normally do it every year, and that's our community outreach category. And in this category, we turned, or I should say the judges made the decision during their deliberations to turn it into what I think was rightfully a great decision, into really a spotlight on those teams in our community that responded to COVID specifically and the vaccine rollout. So the finalists in the community outreach category are, these are very large groups, so bear with us. So the New Hanover County Health and Human Services Department, the Novant Health NHRMC COVID Management Team, the Wilmington Health COVID-19 Vaccine Team, and the school nurses of New Hanover County, who are within the county's Health and Human Services. And to announce the winner in the category this year is actually going to be Charlie Hardy. And just a quick moment before he comes up to dote on him a little bit, you may know Charlie Hardy from such roles as the founding dean of UNCW's College of Health and Human Services and a former Healthcare Heroes Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. And the, in my opinion, nicest super type A personality conglomeration I've ever met. So we wanted to take a moment to also, many of you know that Dean Harney is transitioning into a new role at the university and going into a teaching position. So we also wanted to, at the same time, give some accolades to Dean Hardy as well as he makes this new chapter in his life.
Well, thank you, Vicki. That's a beautiful way to describe retirement. I think Wing Long is smiling in heaven tonight. Amen. This award honors an individual or team who communicated to the community about a health issue, including treatments and best practices, health threats, and other education initiatives. In the second year now of a global pandemic, the Healthcare Heroes judges decided to use this category a little differently, as Vicki described. The community outreach category this year recognizes large teams of the area of health providers and professionals who've responded throughout the COVID-19 pandemic in helping to protect and treat our community. As you have heard, we have 4 organizations nominated to the Community Outreach Healthcare Hero category. Before announcing the winner, I want to share a brief summary of the statements offered by the nominees for these organizations. This team reached out across our county to pastors, lay leaders, ethnic associates, neighborhoods, community centers, businesses, free health care clinics, and many more. This team provided health services with a truly inspirational commitment to the health care of the entire community. This team volunteered time in addition to their daily work assignments to ensure our community was vaccinated and protected, and it is truly appreciated by all of us. And finally, the most significant comment I've ever read in 40 years in this industry. Wherever you look around you tonight at all the tables. I am certain that someone in your sight line is alive today because of the heroic work of this team. Folks, it doesn't get any better than that. For my colleagues and friends, you know I like to color outside the line. So we're going to color outside the line on this one tonight. All 4 of you win this award. Representatives from each of the organizations, please come forward. New Hanover County Health and Human Services, Novant Health COVID Management Team, School Nurses of New Hanover County Health and Human Services, Wilmington Health COVID-19 Vaccine Team. Come on down!
It is hard to follow Dean Hardy, but I will try and say when that came up in the judging deliberations, I think it was a clear choice that all 4 of those teams worked extremely hard in the past 2 years and deserve this and like many more, all that we could give them in terms of attention. And so now we are at the point of our program where we recognize also the people who, I guess, came before you and built what is all of the things that you have all said so beautifully tonight in terms of what is this medical community and how it got to this point. And that is our Lifetime Achievement Award. This one is different. You guys all know who the winner is because you all read the Business Journal and you remember from November that our Lifetime Achievement Award winner this year has made an indelible imprint in terms of how the medical community and how the services have evolved in Wilmington. This year's winner is Dr. John Powell, who is surrounded here by his family and his friends who have traveled in from other parts of the state to be here with us tonight to celebrate. And so Dr. Powell is going to share some remarks with you and just tell you a little bit about what the medical community was like when he was practicing and also the things that he's done along the way. To present the award and to tell you all a little bit about Dr. Powell is going to be his colleague, Dr. Jim Price. If you don't mind coming up, Dr. Price.
Thank you, Vicki. And first, I would like for you to pass on to your colleagues who SAJ, the parent company of the Greater Wilmington Business Journal, and Wilma, do great things for our community, and this event tonight is certainly one of them. So we are appreciated to you. Now, I've known Dr. John Powell for a long time, and I'm going to briefly summarize what I know of his career and what I know of him as a man. I never served in the military, but my dad did. And it wasn't too long after I started medical school that I realized that the practice of medicine runs much like the military. So much depends upon rank. All right? Now, I'm grateful to be a board-certified fellow of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. And John Powell is also a fellow of ACOG, but he's also board certified as a gynecologic oncologist and is boarded by the American Board of Laser Surgery. So you can see that Dr. John L. Powell is a fairly high-ranking medical officer. Now, I'm briefly going to go, working along these lines, I'm briefly going to go to a story of two Powells. Before he was the Secretary of State, he was the chief of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That's Colin Powell, who died this past October 18th. He was a 4-star general in the Army. And while we're talking this military analogy, I can promise you that John L. Powell medically is a 4-star general. Now, I practice in private OBGYN, am a full colonel. That's pretty good. But back at table 14, where my wife and I were originally sitting, are two 2-star generals. One, Dr. Brent Wright, who I'm happy to say I had the opportunity of training when he was a resident at New Hanover. And Dr. Mark Pascarat, who Dr. John Powell recruited from Texas to come here because he was a wheel horse, one of the best in the nation, with a laparoscope. So those are your 2-star generals, and we got 2 of them here tonight too. But you don't see many 4-star generals, but Dr. John Powell is. Another analogy that applies that has to do with professional golf. Dr. John Powell is the GYN oncology, as Jack Nicklaus is the golf. Another fitting analogy, Dr. Powell is the GYN oncology, as Michael Jordan is the basketball. And in that this is Final Four weekend, I'm going to talk a little bit about NCAA men's basketball coaches. And Dr. Powell, to GYN oncology, is as Adolph Rupp, John Wooden, Jim Boeheim, Dean Smith, Roy Williams are to college basketball. And they got a guy over at Duke, Mike Krzyzewski, Mike Krzyzewski, that's it, Mike Krzyzewski. Coach K, you got to mention him too, because when you come down to it, he has more wins than anybody, 1,202. And it's like the old saying goes, liars may figure, but figures do not lie. So Coach K has the most wins, and quite honestly, personally, and I hear this out fully because I don't want to get anybody upset, it would suit John Powell and I if Coach K winds up with 1,202 wins. But should he happen to beat Carolina tomorrow night to get 1,203, I'm a good enough ACC guy that I hope he makes it to 1,204 come Monday night. All right, now, you're soon going to hear a bunch of figures, dates and places, as well as a fair amount of medical terminology, which you may not be too familiar. But all this analogy stuff that I've been giving you is my way of trying to help you understand the unequivocally superlative significance of Dr. John Powell's lifetime accomplishments. Tonight, Dr. Powell is being presented the Health Heroes Life Achievement Award, which is most appropriate, for John's life is filled with noteworthy accomplishments, and some of these achievements are just hard to enumerate, but I'm going to try. Dr. John Powell grew up in Clinton, North Carolina, and he and his family members spent many summers of his youth at Wrightsville Beach, where, not so ironically, he and his wife have resided since 1996. Dr. Powell's first experience in preparing to become a physician came right here in Wilmington, during two of the summers that he was a medical student. And he's going to tell you about those 2 summers. But I'm going to tell you that some of the docs that taught him during those 2 summers were some of the docs who taught me when I came and started my residency at then New Hanover Memorial Hospital in July of 1975. So our Department of OB/GYN has always been kind of a team effort and a family feel to it. And that's a good way to be. All right, now, Dr. Powell graduated from Davidson College with a BS in pre-med studies in 1964, and he received his MD from the UNC School of Medicine in 1968. He served 8 years in the United States Army Medical Corps, rising to the rank of major. During that time, he delivered over 5,000 babies. I never delivered that many, I can tell you that. In a minute, I'm going to tell you about some of the other things that Dr. Powell has accomplished in his career. But before I do that, I would like to remind you that during all those household moves and worldwide travels that I'll shortly describe, John has always had the devoted and enduring support of his wife, of 55 years, Miss Carolyn Walker Powell. Caroline was born and raised in Wilmington, and was she ever a wonderful wife, mother, and partner in life. You know that old proverbial saying, behind every great man, there's a great woman. Unfortunately, Caroline could not be here tonight, but we should remember her in our hearts, and we should give her devotion for the man that she has been lifelong devoted to. Now I'm going to continue recounting Dr. Powell's professional story. After leaving the U.S. Army, John did a gynecologic oncology fellowship at Crawford W. Long Memorial Hospital of Emory University in Atlanta from 1976 to 78, and he did private practice in Atlanta from 1978 to 1984. At that point, he was recruited to become the director of GYN oncology at Bay State Medical Center, Springfield, Massachusetts. And while there, he rose through the academic ranks from assistant to associate to full professor in the Tufts Medical School, training thousands upon thousands of medical students and residents. From 1990 to 1944, he was on the executive committee of the Massachusetts section of ACOG. Dr. Powell served on the board of directors of the American Cancer Society while he was in Georgia and Massachusetts. Dr. Powell was a pioneer of laser surgery. He was one of the first to publish articles about the use of the CO2 and YAG lasers in gynecology, and subsequently trained thousands of his physicians regarding the appropriate and safe use of these lasers. Also lecturing on this subject in 26 U.S. states, Puerto Rico, 8 foreign countries, including China, France, the Bahamas, Indonesia, Hungary, Bermuda, Canada, and Jamaica. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. Dr. Powell invented 2 surgical instruments, which he's going to tell you about, but I will just tell you that they are both used today by gynecologic surgeons worldwide, many of who were among the residents that he taught. He was on the executive committee of the New England Association of Gynecological Oncologists in 1991 and 92. He was on the board of directors for the American Board of Laser Surgery and was an examiner for that board from 1993 to 2000. He was president of the Mid-Atlantic Gynecologic Oncology Society in 2004-2005. Dr. Powell was awarded the Professor of the Year Awards at Bay State Medical Center in 1994, at New Hanover Regional Medical Center in 1995, and again in 2003. He has been listed in Who's Who 11 times. He's authored 222 published articles in various journals, 13 book chapters. He's also written 116 pages of a syllabus for ACOG on advanced colposcopy, vulvar diseases, and loop excisions, and co-authored 2 DVDs, one on HPV and another on diseases of the vulva and vagina. He also wrote 140 articles, which he called Powell's Pearls. And what these are about are the people who introduced certain operative procedures and or instruments. And he has presented many of these Powell's Pearls at UNC Medical Center Grand Rounds and at a special oncologic meeting at Duke in 2003. Over the years, he's continued to be a reviewer for 40 influential medical journals, thereby influencing tens of thousands of physicians, again, worldwide. In the past 2.5 years, Dr. Powell has reviewed nearly 50 articles for the Journal of Pediatric and Adolescent Gynecology. Over his years of active practice, Dr. Powell was a participant in 21 research projects. I believe it most probable that Dr. Powell has authored more publications than any other UNC medical school graduate and or faculty member. Dr. Powell was recruited to join AHEC, the AHEC OBGYN training program in 1994. Not only is the program's sole oncologic gynecologist, but to help start up the Zimmer Cancer Center. Now, he's going to tell you a little bit about that modest start. Okay. All of the aforementioned definitely attest to Dr. Powell's dedication to and love of his life's work. His extraordinary expertise, as well as the entirety of his exemplary career, are nothing short of astounding. But much more importantly, becoming a physician is far, far more than what John chose to do to make a living. For his decision to become a physician is what he chose to do with his life. Without further ado, I'm proud to introduce Dr. John Powell.
Thank you, Dr. Price, for telling us the background of Dr. Powell. Dr. Powell, congratulations. We want to thank you for being here and thank your friends and family for coming to visit for this honor and achievement. Dr. Powell is going to say a couple words to accept the award, and if we could all have like a moment of respect to hear him out for all the accomplishments that he's done for our community. Dr. Powell, take it away.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Dr. Price for those kind words. I want to thank the selection committee for awarding me this high honor. I want to tell you a little history. My first medical connection with Wilmington happened in 1966, in the summer between my second and third year of medical school at Chapel Hill. I was awarded a Duke Endowment externship to work at the James Walker Hospital on Red Cross Street. There were 8 OBGYNs in practice at that time, and they all tutored me to do deliveries. Dr. Nelson O'Quinn tutored me for my very first delivery. And there's a picture in the front hall of New Hanover Hospital with me holding up that baby right after I slapped his butt. Other members of that team that taught me were Shug Walker, Conway Ficklin, William Wynell, John Orman, James Lounsbury, Robert Nicholson, and Sigmund Baer. The sole surviving member is John Orman. Dr. O'Quinn helped me with that first delivery, and a picture of that hangs in the front hall of the hospital down near the AHEC end. During that summer, those 8 physicians taught me how to do deliveries, episiotomies and repairs, tubal ligations, appendectomies, circumcisions, and assisted cesarean sections and hysterectomies. I did my first 300 deliveries that summer. What a heck of an amazing experience for a second-year medical student. My second Wilmington encounter in medicine occurred in the summer of 1967, when New Hanover Hospital had just opened. I worked with those same 8 OBGYNs, plus Dr. Andy Cracker, who had joined Dr. Wynell and Dr. Orman in Glenmead OBGYN. I delivered my second 300 babies that summer. Amazing opportunity. And then it was that opportunity that convinced me to pursue a career in OBGYN. It was particularly of interest to pursue a career like the Semmelweis had done. In 1974, I actually operated at the Semmelweis Hospital in Vienna, Austria, doing radical surgery with the professors there. I spent 8 years in the Army Medical Corps doing general OBGYN, stationed in Honolulu, Hawaii, Denver, Colorado, and Landstuhl, Germany. During those 8 years, I delivered over 5,000 babies. That cured me of wanting to get up in the middle of the night. After finishing the Army Medical Corps career, I went to Emory in Atlanta and did a cancer fellowship, and I taught there for 8 years. Then I was invited to start a G1 oncology program at Bay State Medical Center, a 1,000-bed hospital in Springfield, Massachusetts, and be part of the Tufts faculty. As Jim said, I advanced through the ranks up to full professor. Then I was invited to do radical surgery for cervical cancer and for vulvar cancers in both Germany and in Taiwan. I was invited by Dr. William McMillan, the head of AHEC here, the CEO of New Hanover Hospital, and by Dr. William Drogmuller, the head of OBGYN at Chapel Hill Medical School, to start a G1 oncology program here and help design and start up the Zimmer Cancer Center. A great honor. I started out pretty humbly. We took a patient's bed out of a room on the second floor of the hospital tower and put in a desk, a chair, and an exam table. As I got busier, the hospital bought the drugstore at the end of the medical mall to make that into my office for myself and Dr. Brent Wright and Dr. Mark Pascaret. The three of us changed things with the OBGYN residency program, getting them off probation and increasing the number of residents. It was great teamwork that the three of us did together. When we opened the Zimmer Center, on one end we had 6 exam rooms for surgical oncology, medical oncology, and G1 oncology at one end, and 12 chairs for infusion chemotherapy. At the other end of the building, we had 4 exam rooms for the radiation oncologist, and we had a linear accelerator and a CAT scan machine. Well, I was the sole G1 oncologist, and we had one medical oncologist, Dr. Peter Ungaro, and one surgical oncologist, Dr. Cyrus Cotwall. Well, things got busier, and at the end we had increased the number of patients coming from eastern North Carolina and eastern South Carolina, including from Jacksonville, Morehead City, New Bern, Burgall, Wallace, Harold Store, Clinton, Whiteville, Lumberton, St. Paul's, Loris, South Carolina, and North Myrtle Beach. We added G1 oncologists. We have 3 of them now, one of whom I trained when he was a resident, Dr. Gajewski. As we got busier and the practice grew, I added partners, and the Cancer Center took over the second floor of the building. We kicked the resident clinics out of that, which I had helped design in the beginning for both internal medicine, general surgery, and OBGYN residents. We now have 3 times as many chairs for chemotherapy as we started with 12 in the beginning. We have a lot more medical and surgical oncologists now. We have 3 G1 oncologists there, 2 surgical oncologists, and 13 medical oncologists. The Zimmer Center has made a huge change in eastern North Carolina, where people can get treated closer to home. Dr. Price talked about my publications. I did invent 2 surgical instruments that are used all over the world, a laser speculum for laser surgery made by Pilling in 1978 when I was one of the pioneers in laser surgery, and a special clamp for radical pelvic surgery made by Baxter V. Mueller in 1984. When lasers were first invented in 1970s, I wrote some of the first papers on the CO2 laser and the neodymium YAG lasers. I published articles about my experience using the CO2 laser for treatment of carcinoma in situ of the cervix, vagina, and vulva, and condyloma of the genital tract. The neodymium YAG laser was great for stopping and preventing hemorrhages. So I used that to treat a giant hemangioma of the cervix, a giant pyogenic granuloma on the gum of a pregnant woman that caused pain and bleeding when she tried to eat and interfered with her nutrition. I was able to do that with no blood loss and no damage to the teeth. And I used it also for ablation of the endometrium to stop heavy bleeding, what's called menorrhagia, from patients that had benign causes for their uterine bleeding. I was invited to lecture on lasers in 12 different foreign countries, in hospitals, medical schools, and seminars in 21 of the U.S. states. It was an honor to treat and train those thousands of physicians how to use them safely and appropriately. There's one other person I would like to thank who should share in this award. She's my wife of 55 years. Caroline Walker Powell raised our 2 kids, John and Sarah, took care of me and the 10 apartments and houses we lived in all over the world, and was with me whenever I had multiple hospitalizations for various medical problems. What she was doing for me allowed me to teach thousands of doctors, interns, residents, and medical students, and nurses, while operating on over 21,000 patients with GYN cancer, plus writing hundreds of articles and book chapters. All that would not have been possible without her help. A special thank you tonight to the nurses at the Zimmer Cancer Center and to the operating room nurses that I worked with here. They made life fun and made it a joy to go to work. Thank you, Jim. Thank you to the audience. Appreciate your listening to this little bit of history.
Have a good night. Congratulations, Dr. Powell. Very much well-deserved. As the mother of 2, I appreciate your focus on your career, and it sounds like you made a ripple effect throughout the community, throughout your whole entire career. So thank you very much. Thank you to everyone for listening and hearing Dr. Price and Dr. Powell's talk about what he went through to this point. Can we get one more hand of applause for all of our finalists and winners this evening? And so now kicks off the portion of the night that, again, is in the spirit of what Wayne Long started this for and what Dr. Powell had mentioned, and that is to have a great night. So enjoy yourselves. network, have fun, have fellowship, relax being out. We're going to open up the food lines, and the landfill team will be going around on the tables to bring you over. For that, band Jack 180 will start playing, and it is a night to celebrate all the hard work you've done all year long, and also to celebrate your colleagues' works. So thank you for being patient for this revamped 2021/22 Healthcare Heroes events, and we hopefully, fingers crossed, will see you again later this year in November for this year's Healthcare Heroes as well. Thank you to everyone who participated and everyone who is a very deserving finalist for everything you've done these past 2 wild years. So everyone, have a great evening and enjoy.